Spider-Man: No Way Home has been one of the most anticipated Marvel movies of all time. With the ever-expansive cast from the Spider-Verse coming together, this is the Spider-Man movie for all generations of fans. Here are some of the hints that the new trailer already gave fans. First, on the newspaper that Mary Jane reads while her and Peter are on the roof, it shows the headline, Spider-Minions. This just goes to show that J. Jonah Jameson is up to his usual ventures of trying to ruin Spider-Man. While Far From Home ended with Mysterio getting taken care of and Spider-Man saving the day, it also added plenty of fuel to J. Jonah's fire. With the reveal of Spider-Man's true identity, J. Jonah has plenty of material to use to bring the public out against Spider-Man. Something that is definitely felt missing in Tom Holland's Spider-Man is the banter of J. Jonah that brings the ever-lingering question of whether Spider-Man is loved or not. Looks like that will be back in full effect. Next, Peter Parker is being interrogated by the police. Our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man is being held by the police, and this is a position we are not used to seeing him in. The fact that he isn't in the police station for the entirety of the trailer proves that they didn't have enough to pin any crimes of Mysterio on him. But it's still a predicament we're not used to. While a detective throws a stack of paperwork on a table in front of Peter, it looks a lot like Matt Murdock, but another scene shows someone else walking into the room that clearly isn't Murdock. While Charlie Cox has confirmed that the character in question is definitely not him, he has not denied being involved with the project completely. One can only hope. Next comes from a scene with both Peter Parker and Aunt May at her house. They look to be having a heartfelt conversation when they're interrupted by a surprise figure. While we don't get to see the being, that reaction tells us it's one of the last people they would have expected. While there are many options, some of the most obvious ones are Uncle Ben, Peter's parents, or another Spider-Man. While it was nice to not witness the demise of Uncle Ben yet again, it is another key connection between the Spider-Men that hasn't been explored in this universe though. Peter's parents would be a cool addition, but better yet would be Tobey's Spider-Man wandering through the door. Next is Doctor Strange Sanctum. It's completely covered in snow. It looks like the damage from the Hulk has repaired, so no outside weather should be coming in anyways, but it's also sunny like a summer day outside. This leads to the fact that Doctor Strange has been dabbling in a separate location or even universe. He's Doctor Strange, he can use magic to quickly clean things up, and he hasn't yet, which leads to something big. An obvious answer to this one is that maybe it's snowing in another part of the multiverse, or it is foreshadowing a future villain to come. Next is a stretch, but Doctor Strange has a mug that says, "For Fox's sake." I'm sure everyone remembers Disney's acquisition of Fox Studios. With that comes the rights to other Marvel figures, which include Fantastic Four and X-Men. With a huge crossover roster already involved with this film, it seems like the perfect time to introduce the other franchises, even if it's just a cameo. While it would be nice to have the other franchises finally be introduced, there are a couple of things to remember. Fantastic Four would more than likely be completely recast. The reboot was all but successful, and the original Johnny Storm was the early 2000s. Fantastic Four is none other than Captain America, who just died. X-Men could easily cross over considering the fact it is a multiverse itself, but our Wolverine will not be in attendance. Hugh Jackman will no longer portray Wolverine. Next, we have a possible big baddie hint. Earlier in the trailer, while Peter is walking on the street, someone has a poster with Peter's face with a malicious beard and mustache drawn on. Then we have the actual spell Doctor Strange cast to make people forget Peter's real identity. This refers back to a comic where Peter comes to Doctor Strange to change the course of history, but he refuses to mess with the time-space continuum. Once Doctor Strange refuses to help Peter, Peter turns to the villain Mephisto. While he hasn't been mentioned by name at any point, his appearance in the Marvel Spider-Man universe has been expected for some time now. He could end up being the ultimate bad guy behind all of the others coming after Spider-Man. Another villain revealed is Electro. 2 shots of yellow lightning don't just reveal the villain, but it shows that they're going to take the character back to its comic book roots. While Electro was introduced in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, liberties were taken with the character, which gave him blue lightning. Jamie hasn't confirmed that he'll be reclaiming his role as Electro, but the character is definitely confirmed through the trailer. While having Jamie Foxx retain his role of Electro would be satisfying, it could also possibly restrict future endeavors with the characters. For example, this might be the beginning of the Sinister Six. Another villain reveal happened very quickly. If you blinked, you missed it. but the lizard was definitely in the trailer. Its screen time was literally for a second, but the glimpse along with the sounds of his roar were enough confirmation for us. Again, there's no telling if this is the version we know from the Amazing Spider-Man movie, but it definitely means that the villain himself is returning to continue in one of the mini universes. Would it be nostalgic to have Rhys Ifrin's Kurt Connors return? Yes. Is there a guarantee? No. Next, Sandman looks like he might be making his cinematic return. There's a scene where Electro shoots his lightning bolts towards Spider-Man, but a wall of sand blocks it and protects him. Unless Doctor Strange is the one throwing a wall of sand up to protect Spider-Man, the only other logical explanation is Sandman returning. While he was introduced as the villain back in Tobey's trilogy, the final movie ended with Sandman making amends with Tobey's Spider-Man, so this could be Sandman still on his path for redemption. Sandman was one of the more personable characters from the original trilogy, seeing how his motivation for the wrong he had done was his daughter who needed medical attention. Next, we have one of the most obvious villains revealed. The Green Goblin's pumpkin bomb can very clearly be seen rolling onto the George Washington Bridge, and to put everyone's mind at ease, it hasn't been confirmed to be Willem Dafoe's version. But this maniacal laugh can be heard in the background, so one can only assume that he will be playing his original role. Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin was everyone's intro to live-action Spider-Man villains, and he set the bar high for villains, which was really only measured up to by one other. We'll get to him next, but the design of the pumpkin bomb is the exact same as the 2002 Spider-Man, so it's safe to say everything involving Green Goblin will be a trip down nostalgia lane. Continuing the villain reveal, we come to the one I'm most excited for. Dr. Octopus has officially been revealed. Alfred Molina reprises his role as Doc Ock. As he emerges from a crater, his smile graces our screen right after his mechanical arms help him pull him up. He says, "Hello, Peter." So we can assume he knows Spider-Man's on-screen personality. At the end of Spider-Man 2, Alfred Molina's Doc Ock gets to see Peter Parker revealed, which helps convince him to take charge of his mechanical counterparts and destroy his own creation. While his ending in Spider-Man 2 saw him redeem himself and eventually sink to his death, there's no doubt that he is here for the new Spider-Man, and we're excited. This also helps further confirm the setup for a Sinister Six reveal. We've already got 4 confirmations for Spider-Man legacy villains in Electro, Lizard, Green Goblin, and Doc Ock. With the possibility of Sandman and Mephisto, it only makes logical sense that they are attempting to set up an even bigger universe. Next, there is a multitude of scenes where Doctor Strange seems to be chasing Spider-Man through a mirrored realm. Whether or not he's following Spider-Man or chasing him up to the eyes of the audience, but considering there's a scene showing Doctor Strange catching up with him and knocking his spirit out of his physical form, I'd imagine he was chasing him. We've also seen this move performed by the Ancient One in Doctor Strange. While there's no telling why Doctor Strange performed this action, Peter seems to be holding some sort of mystical box, which we can only assume comes from Doctor Strange's sanctum. Considering the timing in the trailer, it must have something to do with Peter's second life. Doctor Strange just got done telling Peter, "The problem is you trying to lead 2 different lives." Whether this is referring to him being Peter and Spider-Man, or it has to do with an alternate Peter Parker, life is unknown.